All right, today's gospel reading is from Mark chapter 2 verses 28 through 23 through 28 and chapter 3 verse 1 through 5. As always, I'll be doing the explanation according to the Blessed Theophylact, who is an archbishop from the Okrug region of Bulgaria from the 11th century. And chapter 2 verses 23 through 28. And it came to pass that he went through the wheat fields on the Sabbath day, and his disciples began as they made their way, to pluck the heads of wheat. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have ye never read what David did when he had need, and he hungered, he and they that were with him? How he went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the loaves of oblation, which is not lawful to eat, but for the priests, and gave also to them which were with him. And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. The explanation here: the disciples of the Lord were plucking the heads of wheat as if they were no longer accustomed to living according to the law. The Pharisees became indignant, and then were refuted by Christ, who brought up the example of David, who, by necessity, set aside the law in the days of Abiathar the high priest. For as the prophet David was fleeing from Saul, he came to this high priest and tricked him into thinking that he had been sent by the king on some urgent military mission. Whereupon David not only ate the loaves of oblation, but also took the sword of Goliath, which had been dedicated to the Lord. There were 12 loaves set out each day on the table in the sanctuary, 6 on the right side and 6 on the left. Some have asked how it is that the evangelist here calls the high priest Abiathar, while in the book of Kings he is called Ahimelech. In 1 Kings or 1 Samuel 21, 1 through 9. It can be said that perhaps Abiathar had two names, and he was also called Ahimelech. But it can be said that the book of Kings says that the priest at the high time was Ahimelech, while the evangelist says that the high priest was Abiathar. So this is not contradictory, for the priest was Ahimelech, while the high priest was Abiathar. Understand this also in a spiritual sense. When the disciples of Christ on the Sabbath, that is, when their souls were at rest from the passions, for Sabbath means rest, and the demons did not war against them, then they made their way. That is, they became guides, and led the way for others along the path of virtue. Here the Blessed Theophylact draws upon the double meaning of the verb odopion, the Greek word, to make one's way and to lead the way. As they went, they plucked out all that was rooted in the earth and in earthly imagination. For if one does not first rest from the passions and establish himself in quietness, he cannot lead others along the way and become a guide towards the good. And chapter 3, verse 1 through 5. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there who had a withered hand. And they were watching him, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he saith unto the man who had the withered hand, Arise and stand into the middle. And he saith unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath days, or to do evil, to save a life, or to kill? But they were silent. And when he had looked round about on them with anger, but being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he saith unto the man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored, whole as the other. And the explanation here: when the disciples were accused by the Jews of plucking the heads of wheat on the Sabbath, the Lord refuted the accusers first by means of the example of David, but now he puts them to shame even more by working this miracle, pointing out, Not only did my disciples not sin by plucking the heads of wheat, but even I myself labor on the Sabbath day by working a miracle. If it is bad to work a miracle on the Sabbath, it is also simply bad to work for the necessities on the Sabbath. But truly, to work a miracle to heal a man is of God, and surely he who does something good on the Sabbath does not transgress the law. This is why the Lord asked them, if it is lawful to do good, to shame them for hindering him from doing good. The right hand is withered of anyone who does not do these deeds, but that belong to the portion on the right. And Christ says to the man that the withered hand, with the withered hand, Arise. Arise, that is, from sin, and stand in the middle, which means in the middle place of virtues, the golden mean. For each virtue lies in the middle, inclining neither to omission nor to excess. Therefore, when he stands at this golden mean, his hand will be restored whole and sound. Note the word restored. For there was a time when our hands, that is, our strength to act, were sound, when there was not yet any transgression. But when the hand of man was stretched out to take up the forbidden fruit, from that time on it withered and could not do good. But it will again be restored to its former health when we stand in the middle of the virtues.